The entire tower believes that Zahard created the princess system to find the woman who could become his wife and give him an heir, which turns out is actually true. But then, what's the real reasons our princesses were created, and why are they forced to compete against each other and fight over the 30-month series? In this video, I'm going to break down the true history behind the creation of the princess system, the important role the 30-month series have to play in the story, as well as explaining all 23 princesses that have been introduced or mentioned by the author. Starting off with some quick basics, like who are the princesses of Zahard? Zahard's princesses are powerful and beautiful women who at times have served as the swords to protect Zahard's kingdom, and at other times have existed as objects of worship among the residents of the tower. Despite being called Zahard's princesses, in truth, none of the princesses are of Zahard's bloodline for a reason we'll discuss in a bit. Instead, they are chosen from the Tigrid families or elsewhere and adopted into the Zahard family. After being chosen, they are imbued with Zahard's power through a special procedure which enhances their physical abilities. The Princesses of Zahard are considered the tower's ultimate species, as they have bodies tens of thousands of times stronger than ordinary people. It is common for a princess who has the blood of one of the 10 great families and the power of Zahard to have basic physical capabilities that exceed those of a ranker while still being a regular. And although this doesn't fully apply to Endorsi because she's not from one of the 10 great families, she has been shown to be unmatched in terms of physical ability among regulars, with even Baum, who has the blood of two great warriors, being unable to keep up with her in the past without strengthening his body with Shinsu. A new princess is chosen every few hundred years. To be selected, one needs to meet certain standards, including power, resourcefulness, and appearance. But the most important factor evaluated is if the girl is capable of receiving Zahard's power. Elaine, for example, was nominated by the Zahard family to become a princess when she was 14 because of her outstanding fighting skills and her anima ability to command Fenrir, one of the wolf spirits that have been passed down for generations in the family, which does not require a fishbowl to be controlled. Being chosen is extremely difficult, as there are many candidates vying for the position, since becoming a Princess of Zahard means gaining enormous power and influence. This is especially true for a princess who is from one of the 10 great families, since it means they will become the central power of their family in the future. And if a princess outside of the 10 great families becomes a ranker, it means a new power will soon be born. So there are tons of people who will try to get rid of them because they don't want to see that happen. If we go back to Elaine's backstory, after she was nominated to become a princess, the Grey Wolf family was able to quickly gain influence among the branch families of the Lupobia family. But a week before Elaine was meant to go to Zahard's palace, the Zahard family, in cooperation with the main branch of the Lupobia family, devised a plan to see whether Elaine was really suitable for living as the Princess of Zahard. She was summoned by the main family to attend the competition between children of the Lupobia branch families. It was there that she met a boy who possessed abilities surpassing all the children from the 20 branches. She fell in love at first sight and attempted to run away with him as an act of rebellion. But guards from the main family and soldiers sent by the Zahard family were waiting for them. She discovered that the competition, the boy, the whispers of love were all a carefully planned lie, and she was ultimately not chosen to be a princess of Zahard. The reason being that the power and authority granted to the princesses comes at the cost of a few restrictions. They are not allowed to fall in love or marry another person, nor can they give birth. These restrictions are to prevent them from spreading the power of Zahard that they have earned, which is why the princesses are sometimes called the shoes in the king's display case, since while they are all beautiful, no one can take them out and wear them. Although, very rarely, the shoes in the display case walk out on their own. Following Elaine's failure on becoming a princess, Tromore ordered the entire Grey Wolf family to be imprisoned and imposed a massive penalty fee on them, with Elaine herself being sentenced to a special labor punishment, which gives an idea of how important it is to the Tengate families for one of their members to get chosen as a princess. Another rule governing the princesses is that they are forbidden from approaching the floor of death, which is actually directly related to the true history behind the creation of the princess system. Officially, the story of how the princesses of Zahard began goes as follows. Zahard, after having endlessly climbed up to the 134th floor, took pity on the people of the tower and decided to become their king, with him later deciding to leave his attack on the tower to his descendants. But perhaps because his blood was so strong, he could not create a child with any woman. So, Pope Augustin proposed to select outstanding girls, gradually inject them with Zahard's power, and make them compete with each other during the climb of the tower. The most talented of the surviving princesses would be given weapons from the 13 month series, and whichever princess would gather all 13 months would become Zara's wife and bear his child. Quickly, however, the competition between princesses got more intense, and the Princesses of Zahard developed into a continuous fight for political power between the 10 great families. Garam Zahard reflected back on those times, describing them as pure competition, murder, and chaos. When it seemed that this bloody competition would go on endlessly, Raja N. Zahard became a princess. She was a genius of the ultimate descent, with the blood of two family leaders mixed within her. And as a recognition for her warming talents that even the feuding family leaders had no choice but to acknowledge, she was given the colorless December 1 or 13 months. Gavam greatly admired her strength and believed that she would be the one to finally put an end to the strife among princesses and their families. One day, Garam's twin sister Yulam was forced to simultaneously ignite 2 or 13 months when she encountered a tough enemy during a mission assigned by the Zahard family. She ended up going on a rampage, killing her allies and attacking another princess who was sent alongside her. In order to keep their entire family from facing the danger of being branded as public enemies, Gavam had no choice but to kill her twin sister herself and seize her indigo July. Around the same time, N also went insane after igniting 2 or 13 months and murdered everyone from the Zahard family who crossed her path. Garam had been surprised by her sister's actions before her death, so when N started to change, she became suspicious of the identity of 13 months and began investigating the truth. A few days later, both Garam and N disappeared. While battles between princesses don't cause problems even when they kill each other, the disappearance of two princesses who were both in possession of 2 or 13 months was a serious matter. So Zahard issued orders to catch the two princesses quickly. Garam was able to hide, but N was ultimately caught and imprisoned in a mysterious labyrinth. Garam couldn't believe that the girl she had admired so much had gone mad, so she risked her life to break in the labyrinth and met her. Anne told Garam about the existence of two irregulars erased from history, their connection to the tragic competition between princesses, and just how pointless the fights to collect the 30-month series were. Garam didn't believe her at first, thinking it was probably a delusion created by her insane mind. After all, if what she told her was true, it would mean that Yulam's death and the death of all the princesses before hers were all a part of a twisted scheme orchestrated by one man to keep the competition between princesses continuing indefinitely. Anne told Garam that she would find out about everything if she were to find the pocket of Arlen, one of the two hidden irregulars that she had previously hid. After finally managing to obtain that pocket and seeing the information stored inside it, Garam realized that what Anne told her wasn't a lie nor a delusion. Zahard entered and climbed the tower with 12 irregular companions, not 10 as told in the tower's history. The day he announced that he stopped climbing the tower and become king, he sealed off the door leading up to the 135th floor and had half of the key melted into the 13 months. Zahard originally planned to split the 13 months between himself and his 12 companions so they could share the key. After he made the deal with the administrators to become king, he found Arlen, who was actually his first love, and proposed to her. But she was already engaged to the other hidden irregular V, so she refused his marriage proposal and ran away with V. The two of them had been against Zahard sealing off the door as they wanted to keep climbing the tower, but Zahard didn't listen and did it anyway. So V and Arlen formed an organization which opposed Zahard and started a war in order to steal the key which Zahard had. After they declared war against him, Zahard immediately cancelled his plans to share the 13 months between himself and his companions. Ultimately, the future 10 family leaders sided with Zahard, and V and Arlen lost the war, taking refuge on the 43rd floor, which would later be known as the Floor of Death. Arlene had been pregnant during this whole ordeal and gave birth to a child there. Zahard, having heard rumors and unable to accept that the woman he loved had a child with another man, tracked them down and killed their child in front of Arlen. Some more events happened which I detailed in my video on Zahard's empire, but what you need to know is that V supposedly killed himself, Arlen found a way to get out of the tower, and Zahard erased all traces of their existence. Another war happened after that between those who supported Zahard becoming king and those who opposed it, which Zahard also eventually won. But now that Zahard had become the uncontested king of the tower, he was faced with another problem. The inhabitants of the tower wanted their king to have an heir, but Zahard could not get over Arlen, his first love, and his blood was also potentially too strong, although we still don't know if it's really true or just a part of the propaganda. What we do know is that from the very start, Zahard had no intention of ever getting married, and that the real reason the Princesses of Zahard were created was actually to wipe out people's immediate complaint about an heir. Having the princesses compete against each other while declaring that whichever princess could collect all 13 months would become his wife and bear an heir meant that he would no longer be pestered about the subject, while dictating that only acknowledged princesses could own the 13-month series, which represent half of the key to open the door to the 135th floor, would ensure that they would remain in the hands of the Zahard Empire and not fall in the wrong hands. But Zahards, having absolutely no intention of getting married, still needed a way to prevent any of the princesses from getting all her 13 months. So he made a deal with the souls of the women who failed his initial selection of princesses, making use of the resentment toward the selected princesses to sieve them into a space of 13 months. If any princess ignited 2 or more of 13 months at the same time, the souls of the failed candidates within the weapons would steal the princess's body and go on a rampage. This despicable trick allowed Zahar to declare that they had gone insane and execute them, preventing any of the princesses from gathering all 13 months. But the fact that the 13 months represent half the key to open a door to the 135th floor is a closely guarded secret. So why are the 13 months considered so special to everyone in the tower, and what exactly are they? The 13-month series were created by the famed blacksmith Ashur Edwaru. They consist of one inventory and 12 half-sentient ignition weapons of different types. Ignition weapons are weapons that are refined with Shinsu and bear a soul. When ignited, they release vast amounts of power. Only princesses who have proven their ability by climbing the tower are eligible to receive a 30-month series. But being acknowledged and given a 30-month series does not guarantee that you'll be able to ignite it, as each weapon has a personality and will of its own, so they may refuse to listen to their owner. A princess can refuse a weapon from the 30-month series if they wish. Such is the case of Princess Heir Zahard, mentioned in the author's blog. After she became a ranker and her ability was recognized, she was presented with a 30-month series, but she turned it down for unknown reasons. However, after receiving a weapon from the 30-month series, princesses are absolutely forbidden from giving it to someone else. And although the 30-month series are good, they are not the most powerful weapons. Yuri, for example, has used the ignition weapon Kranos against Karaka instead of the Black March or the Green April. But because they are bestowed by the king to the princesses, they hold greater symbolic value than any other item or weapon in the tower. When a princess with 1 or more 13 months appears on the battlefield, all members of Zahard's army have to kneel before them no matter what's going on, and they have faith that the Princess of Zahard will protect them if something does go wrong. Being a princess who is bestowed with a 13-month series makes Yuli very influential among the Zahard family and the Ha family, and is the reason she's able to stay unharmed despite always doing whatever she wants. While they may not be the most powerful weapons, the 30-month series are the ultimate spell item. Their enchantment is a spell so powerful that not even administrators can break them. When ignited, the 13-month series can be used to break lower rank spells, as we've seen with Yuri being able to kill the residents of a Florid Death. Speaking of the Florid Death, when Yuri ignited both the Black March and the Green April at the same time, the two weapons chanted together that they promise to continue cursing the princesses until the day when their true master appears and they become one. This line has sparked a lot of discussion within the community about which character they're supposed to be. If you have any ideas, drop them in the comments. Now that we've learned about the important role the 30-month series play in the story, I'll give a quick overview of all 23 Princesses of Zahard, starting with Hayuri Zahard, the current owner of both the Black March and the Green April, and the first princess is Geram to have managed to gather 2 of 30-month series. She climbed the tower in about 200 years and became a high ranker about 100 years after becoming a ranker. Yuri is incredibly reckless, always doing whatever she wants, from visiting Hidan's floor to insisting on igniting 2 or 13 months at once because she has the option to. She took a liking to Baum early on, and even after his fake death, believed he was still alive and took the risk to break into the Hell Train as a ranker for a chance to potentially meet him again. As someone always looking for adventure, she feels the pressure of the title as a princess to the point of wondering why she was chosen in the first place. But now that she was given her power and position, she wants to use them to change the tower and make the future just a little bit better. Yuri is a genius fisherman who, after having her ability recognized, was awarded the Black March, which takes the form of a needle, the most basic weapon in the tower. Since the events of the last station, the Black March remains inside Baum, and Yuri has been using a replica to disseminate the fact that she doesn't have it anymore. As for the Green April, Yuri took possession of it after indirectly taking care of Ren, who, using his position as a member of the Voyo Enforcement Division, was trying to get rid of both Anak and Endorsi. Yuri then promised Anak that she would return the Green April to her when she became a ranker, as it was too heavy for her to handle as a regular. The owner of the Green April before Yuri and Anak was Anak's mother. After being selected as a princess, she quickly became a ranker and received the Green April. Soon after, however, she fell in love with one of the palace's cook. They were able to show their love in secret for some time, but the problem arose when she became pregnant. Still, she refused to give up her baby and was forced to leave her life of luxury behind to run away with her lover. Zahard was furious when he learned of this and ordered them to be found and killed. The original Anak had not only violated the rules governing the princesses, but she had also gone missing with one of her 30 muncheries. Her life in secrecy was marked with daily fights with her husband over the life they had, but she always considered Anak Jr. to be her greatest gift. Sadly, fighters from the Royal Enforcement Division eventually found the location, and Anak bought some time for her daughter to escape with the help of an unnamed silver dwarf. After her mother's death, Anak Jr. briefly stayed with Garam, who tried to bring her to a floor death. But Anak wanted to become a regular, and Garam was unable to stop her when Hidon appeared. She has made it a goal to get revenge for the death of her parents by killing every Zahard in the tower. During the first season, she wielded her mother's green apple, which takes the form of a hook, a common type of weapon in the tower. The green apple is a compression weapon, a variant of the ignition weapon. When ignited, it has the ability to enlarge and extend its range, as well as grow multiple extensions from the main weapon. Sadly, she hasn't gotten a lot of focus in a very long time, so I want to highlight my favorite Anak moment, which was during her fight with Queen Ryan. When she told him, "I didn't not run away because I was arrogant, it's because I couldn't." I interpret this scene as her saying that she no longer wants to be the weak little girl that had to be taken away and that her mother had to give her life to protect, that she couldn't accept defeat while there was still time on the clock despite her injuries, because if she stopped fighting, then she felt she would never be able to become strong enough to take revenge on all the people responsible for the death of her parents. Since going up the tower, Anak's identity as an illegitimate princess has become more and more of a problem for her team, with Shibisu believing that her existence is a pain in the neck to Zahard. But the Zahard family has yet to interfere directly because it's a matter among regulars, although it's clear that they're not pleased with Endorsi helping Anak. If we go back 300 years, Endorsi used to be an orphan who wandered the middle area of the tower. But one day, she met a nice couple who took her in and raised her as an ordinary girl. At some point, the snake charmer, who describes himself as the one who selects and raises the noble talents to inherit the king's blood, found Endorsi. He told her that she had talents worthy of becoming a princess, and that if she kept the gem he was in, he would help her become one. The night after she came back home with the gem, he secretly killed her adopted parents because they would have gotten in the way of her becoming a princess, and had her be adopted in a ruined branch of the 10 great families that was trying to raise a princess to gain more power. The snake charmer then manipulated Endorsi into killing all the other girls that had also been adopted to give her a better chance to being selected as a Princess of Zahard. And Dorsey is very proud of the fact that after all the hard work she put in, she was able to become a princess, one of the luxury shoes in the king's display case. After Anak attacked her during the fisherman position test, and Dorsey called her a fake princess and called herself a real one, despite the fact that technically none of the princesses are real princesses, because she received the power of Zahar through her own efforts, while Anak received it through inheritance. But despite the conflict in the beginning, the moment Dorsey saw her, she had wanted to ask Anak why her mother fell in love and whether she ever regretted it. Because deep down, despite how proudful she is of her identity as a princess, Dorsey is just an ordinary girl who wants to love. And throughout the story, she is constantly torn between these two conflicting identities. One, a princess of Zahar that is not allowed to love, and another, an ordinary girl that wants to love. The day after the position test, after Baum brings her a meal in exchange for agreeing to be friends, we see that Dorsey's shoes are now broken following her interaction with Anak. If we look at this scene through the symbolism of the shoes representing Dorsey, the shoes were damaged and no longer fit in Zahard's luxury display case, similar to how Dorsey has changed and now questions whether she might want to walk out of Zahard's display case and abandon her title as a princess. Going by the order of months, the next owner of 30 Month series is Mashani, who wields the Yellow May. Mashani loves fighting and yearns for the war and chaos similar to those she's read in the ancient books, as she considers the current peace trivial and dull. She has been shown willing to put her life on the line if it's for the sake of her own pleasure, with Data Mashani having a strong desire to fight Data Zahard, even if it will result in her death, which it did, but she died with a smile on her face because she was able to realize her dream. At the same time, Mashani has a strong desire for change, and she believes that one needs to bring forth the change they desire with their own hands. We don't yet know what the catalyst for her desire to bring about change was, but I personally believe that it might be related to N and learning the secrets behind the princess system somehow, as Mashani was one of the princesses that helped capture her. We also don't know exactly what the change she wants to bring entails, but she has told Jinsung that her goal isn't much different from his, although she believes that more blood needs to be spilled to realize the goal. Mashani wants to instigate a war not only to satisfy her desire for bloodshed, but also to bring about some sort of change. She even questions whether she's maybe just a nut who can't live without blood and fighting, as she's in a constant balancing act between a desire to fight strong opponents and a desire to bring about the change she seeks, with Mashani restraining herself from fighting Jinsung, and instead later strategically taking him out of the fight to guarantee Calavan wouldn't kill him, as she planned to use Jinsung as leverage to have Bomb break the carefully maintained balance of power and start a war between the major powers of the tower. The last thing I want to touch on about Mashani is the bet she proposed to Yuri with the Yellow May and the Green April on the line. While we have not yet been told about the details of these bets, there are two things I want to highlight. First, the fact that Mashani specifically chose the Green April and not the Black March for the bets, which Yuri takes a note of and puts into question whether she believed Yuri might land it to Bomb again. And second, that naming the Green April specifically and telling Yuri that she can't tell her why she's after it may be a distraction, and that in reality she may plan to intentionally lose the bets despite the great danger that will be placed on her if she did lose her Yellow May, because it would make Yuli the first princess in history to get the 3 or 13-month series, which would break the carefully maintained status quo and bring about an environment which would help Mashani realize her goal. On the other hand, if Mashani were to win the bet, there wouldn't be much change in my opinion. Maybe Mashani does indeed have a use for the Green April, but I don't see it being as huge as the princess owning 3 or 13-month series at once. During that interaction, we also see Yuri questioning how Mashani knew that she was currently on the Hell Train, which further hints at the connection between Mashani and another princess, Jaina Repelista Zahard, as Repelista is the one who had Yuri get on the Hell Train, and Mashani first appeared in Season 2's prologue on her way out of Repelista's floating castle on the 123rd floor. Repelista stays in her room for long stretches of time, observing the events going on within the tower with the help of her opera, one of the strongest lighthouses. She is the only princess so far that has not started to climb the tower, and who instead prefers to influence the events of the story while staying in her room. Yuri went to meet Repelista to get her to find Bomb, who she believed was still alive. Repelista agreed under the condition that Yuri would get something for her, which turned out to be Zigina's child. Yuri ended up asking Ulek to find it for her, which unbeknownst to her led to Ulek meeting and taking a liking to Violet. What's interesting to note here is that after Yuri agreed to a condition, Repelista replied that she got her 2 times, hinting that those events and potentially many more are all a part of a plan, as she's also the reason Yuri decided to and was able to get on the Hell Train, which among other things led to her going to the floor of death and discovering the secret behind the creation of the princess system, which to me is another reason why I believe Mashani, who has a close connection to Apelista, would also know the real reason the princesses were created. Speaking of the Hell Train, one of its stops is the Neymon station on the 39th floor, where we met up with Shibisu's team who had arrived there a few days prior. They visited the station not to get on the Hell Train, but because one of the twin Lopobia princesses, Elio, had contacted Endorsi and proposed a game between them. If she went to the Neymon station and took Kaiser's name, then the Lopobia family would not interfere with Anak ever again and would even hand over the life of Lopobia Ren. In reality, they were making use of the vow protecting the ruler of the Neymon station to try to get rid of Endorsi. The twin Lopobia princesses act vastly differently but are ultimately cut from the same cloth. Lelio is short-tempered and impulsive, acting out on her opinions and feelings without much planning. She has a strong opinion of herself as a princess from one of the great families, and she could not understand why Endorsi would risk her life as a princess when she worked so hard to become one. While Shelio is calm and manipulative, and did not mind being forcibly married to Balm under Tome's orders, as she believes she can make use of the marriage to consolidate power and influence for herself and her family. But behind her outwardly respectful appearance, Shelio does seem to hide a crazy nature much like her sister. Near the end of the Neymon station arc, Shelio revealed that she and her sister were not in cahoots with either of the two regular princesses fighting on the floors above, but were instead siding with Princess Mashani, along the fact that they are working together with another princess, Queen Maria Zahard, which was actually first mentioned in early season 1. Before the story began, Queen Aguero Agnes helped Maria become a Princess of Zahard instead of his full biological sister who was supposed to be chosen. His actions led to the downfall of his branch family and him being discarded from the Queen family. There are also rumors on the true nature of Aguero and Maria's relationship, which I look forward to hearing more about in the future. As I mentioned previously, during the Neymon station arc, we were told of 2 other regular princesses climbing the tower on the floors above. One of them is Hendo Log Gladmary Zahard, who was potentially adopted into the Handorlock family, given Handorlock blood matters immortality contract, which trades the lifespan of his children and other descendants in order to continuously extend his own life. The other princess is Arye Rose Zahard, whose existence contradicts with an early blog post by the author stating that the Arye family had currently only one princess among its members, which was Arye Hageferion Zahard, the owner of the Red October. But I'll touch more on that in a minute. Handerlog Gladmary Zahard and Arye Rose Zahard are said to be on terrible terms with each other, with tensions between the two princesses' factions becoming more and more serious. Following the Orders of Months, the Luminous June takes the form of a sword and is owned by Princess Alfid Zahard, while the Indigo July and the Blue August are both owned by Garam Zahard, with the Indigo July being a 13 months that used to belong to her twin sister Yulam, which she took after she was forced to kill her. The next 13 months is the Dark September that we know absolutely nothing about, which brings us to the Red October, which is owned by Princess Arye Hageferion Zahard, and also takes the form of a sword. As I mentioned previously, the author initially stated in his blog that even though the Arye family is the strongest of the 10 great families, there was only one princess currently among all members, branch families included, which was Arye Hageferion Zahard. He also mentioned the existence of another Arye princess who is currently missing, Arye Horn Zahard, as the very first princess of Zahard, along with the fact that there were rumors that the reason the Arye family currently only had one princess was due to the curse of Arye Horn. But the author later introduced Arye Rose Zahard as a regular princess during the Naaman Station arc, which is a good reminder that information shared in the blog posts may change once implemented into the story, as the author also mentioned on occasion that a lot of blog settings were written for fun. Speaking of blog settings, Arye Hageferion Zahard is one of only 2 people to have passed Arye Horn's special test on the 100th floor, the other person being Ulrich Mazzino, who after passing his test was transferred the control over the 77th floor. While Arye Hageferion's reward is still unknown, it is said to be a very personal and childish reward. Lastly, many readers speculate that Arye Hageferion Zahard is the princess who defeated White in the past, since she was defeated by a princess from the same family. Next is someone who would have had no issues dealing with Whites, as she's the strongest active princess in the tower. Adorit Zahard was able to defeat a Vanquer as an A-rank regular, which had never happened before in all the history of the tower, and showed how talented she was, as Vanquers get better contracts with less restrictions on the amount of Shinsu they can use, which many readers assume is the reason for the huge gap in strength between Vanquers and regulars, even if they are A-rank and close to becoming a Vanquer. She was also able to overwhelm Gerem to the point of pushing her to her limits less than 100 years after becoming a Ranker, according to information shared by the author in his blog. Adori is both the captain of Zahard's royal guards and the commander-in-chief of Zahard's army. She has the greatest loyalty to Zahard out of all the princesses, going as far as describing herself as merely the blade that cuts down the enemies of the Zahard family, and she wields the only S-rank weapon of 13-month series, the Golden November. For reference, the only other 13 months whose rank we know of are the Black March and the Green April, who are both B-rank. Once again, according to the blog, Adori is known to be a cold and quiet person who has little care for worldly matters and often gets lost in her own fantasies. However, since there are many secrets to her private life, no one really knows her true self, but it is widely known that she will allow a person she likes to call her by birth name, Adoru. The only princess comparable to her in strength is Ureja N. Zahard. At one point in time, N owned both the colorless December and the white February, which she took from an unnamed princess after killing her. But after being caught and sealed away, the colorless December was in a reckless state and also sealed, while the white February is now in the possession of Zahard and is still without an owner. In his blog, the author mentioned the princesses who participated in the battle that resulted in her capture. We have Yuni Zahard and Rebecca Pon Zahard, who were both killed, Kun Mashini Zahard and Pondo Zahard, who helped capture her, and there's a rumor that Hayes Zahard, who refused a 30-month weapon after becoming a ranker, participated in the battle as well. As for the 2 remaining 30 months, we have the Silver January, owned by Anne Zahard, who is currently missing, and the Rainbow Undecember, who unlike the other 12 isn't a weapon but an inventory, although we don't know which type of inventory it is, as the Rainbow Undecember is the only 30-month series that has never been awarded to a princess, which makes sense since Zahar doesn't want anyone to collect them all. But many readers have speculated that it is an arms inventory, and that its purpose is to hold the other months and merge them as half of the key.